Good morning. My name is Steve, and I'm going to be the host of today's Hangout. Joining us again for our 14th Google Hangout is Charlie Cipher, an air filtration expert with Camfil USA, a world leader in the development and production of air filters and clean air solutions. We're going to shift gears today and talk about changing residential air filters, as some of the basic principles that apply to air filters for manufacturing, healthcare facilities, commercial and retail space, and schools and universities also apply to your home air filter. How you doing today, Charlie?
Good, Steve. And boy, that was a nice introduction.
Well, you know,
Good,
you
good
earned it.
subject matter.
Yeah. What type of air filter is in my home, and where can I find it?
Well, typically it's going to be in your furnace, and if you're in the northern part of the country, it's basically where your heat comes from. If you're in the southern part of the country or areas that might be a little bit more temperate in relation to requiring air conditioning, it's still going to be in that furnace area, but you're going to have a unit that's outside also. There's no filter in the outside unit. Unfortunately, if you have hot water heat, what's commonly called baseboard hot water, then you're not going to have an air filter at all. That's one of the disadvantages I see with that type of system. In fact, one of the houses that I moved into, I actually took out the hot water system and put in a hot air system because of the advantages of being able to put air filtration and air conditioning in those type of systems. Normally, the type of filters that are going to be in this system are either going to be fiberglass panels, a little bit higher efficiency if people are using pleated panel filters, or polyester pads. For the most part, people are using pleated panel filters now because they've become the common item of choice at locations, you know, big box home supply stores and so on. You can see hundreds of sizes sitting on the shelf there, and they're a little bit more efficient, you know, and they'll remove things that are related to allergies rather than just protecting the equipment.
Why is it important?
Well, the original reason that air filters were put into the furnaces or air conditioning units was not to protect people, but to protect the equipment. The fan, it's critical that the fan is kept clean so the vanes do not become plugged, so you can move the airflow through the system and either heat or air condition the house. If those things become plugged, then you're going to reduce the airflow and possibly ruin the heat exchanger or even cause problems with the air conditioning unit. So the manufacturers primarily install filters in HVAC units to protect the equipment. Over time, it's gravitated into considering protecting people because of the environment. I mean, the air filter in an HVAC system is an excellent location to remove contaminants that may cause health problems. And then the other thing that's a little bit further down the line is air filters in the HVAC system will also remove staining type particles. So in effect, your walls will be cleaner. You know, you won't have the animal or pet dander around, and so on. It's kind of like a real big vacuum cleaner for your house.
Okay. How often should I be changing my filter? What do you recommend?
Well, right now we're coming up on the summer season where I live, and we get calls 5 or 6 a day coming into our main line of people asking just that question. They get a little bit confused, but you know, they're calling at the right time of year because right before the air conditioning season is the best time to change your filters. If you live in a relatively low temperate zone such as Maine, where you primarily use your system for heat, then you could probably change your filter maybe once a year. But the best time to change it is right before the air conditioning season if you use an air conditioning unit in conjunction with your furnace. For the rest of us, probably the best way to do it is change it twice a year. The main time being right before the air conditioning season, and the second time right before your high heating season. So for me, that typically would be June or the end of June, and then possibly the beginning of November, beginning of December, trying to do that in 6-month intervals.
Well, you know what, just as a side question, you're using Camfil filters, and Camfil filters are known to last that much longer. Do you still have the same recommendations for some of the other types that are available in the big box retailers?
Well, if you're still using a fiberglass panel, they probably should be changed a little bit more frequently because they can't withstand the increased resistance as they capture dirt, and they have a tendency to collapse if they're left in too long. I've seen filters that have been left in 9 months, a year, and there's basically nothing left of the filter because the airflow in the system has torn it apart. So if you have a fiberglass panel, you may want to change it a little bit more often. But Steve, you're right. With pleated panel filters, they're structurally, much stronger than the other two type filters. Instead of coming apart, what they'll do is they'll actually block the airflow. But because of their increased media area, that period before that problem would happen would be quite extensive. The reason that you want to change it out twice a year is primarily to save money, because as the filter's resistance increases, so does the cost of energy to move air through the filter. So changing it on twice a year is a good rule of thumb.
Okay, that's great. Are there other considerations to think about?
Well, if you have somebody in your family that's got severe allergies, changing it quarterly is probably not a bad idea. Air filtration is always a factor of the level of filtration and the number of air changes. And as a filter captures dirt, it reduces the airflow and you have less air changes to the space. So if you want the person that lives in the facility to be a little bit more comfortable and have more allergens removed from the air, then possibly you may want to change it quarterly. Of course, there's other considerations too, such as animal and pet dander. Their shedding adds to the agglomeration of particles that get on a filter. And I'm sorry, the other thing that probably should be considered is the area that you live in. If you live in an urban area, in a downtown area such as downtown Chicago, downtown New York City, you may want to consider changing your filter more frequently, because the inside air contaminant level is always kind of adjusted by the outside level, because we're always bringing in outside air, and the dirtier the outside air, the dirtier the inside air, so we need to clean it up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Where can I get more information if I need it?
Well, Camfil has a lot of information on their website, and there's other websites out there like This Old House and some of the other home-oriented websites, and they've got some good information on air filters. But I would recommend going to catalog.camfil.com, camfil.us, camfil.com, or actually you can go to any of those websites and look for a local sales office, a local Camfil sales office, and contact the people in that office, and they're a wealth of information. Love to answer your questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Charlie. I appreciate your time. I think that was a really helpful topic to cover, and especially at this time of year. We've got summer just about in full bloom. The ACs are going to be going, and as you said, that's time to go, and make the change.
You're welcome, Steve. Make sure you stop at one of those big box stores this afternoon and pick up a filter on your way home.
Yeah, thanks. I will. Need one for my car, too. All righty, you take care.
You too.